Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into something absolutely mind-blowing: the incredible resilience of 3 million people living on the shifting island sandbars of Bangladesh's Jamuna River. I mean, just imagine for a second, building your entire life, your home, your farm, your whole community, on a piece of land that might literally just vanish a few years from now. That is the daily reality we're unpacking today.
And there's this quote that really sets up the central paradox here. But we don't migrate. The islands do. We just have to wander along. It completely flips our entire understanding of migration on its head, right? Usually you think of migration as people packing up and leaving a fixed place to find a better life. But the people living on the Jamuna River? No way. They aren't the ones choosing to migrate. The earth itself is migrating. They're just kind of following their homeland as it physically travels down the river. What's really fascinating is how the Bengali language itself perfectly captures this. These ever-changing island sandbars, they're called chars, which literally translates to wandering. And the 3 million citizens who live on them, they call themselves charas. So right off the bat, you realize that impermanence isn't just some inconvenience they deal with. It's literally woven into their identity. It's in their language.
Part 1, the monsoon's destruction. So to really understand the Chataras, we've got to start by looking at the first half of their seasonal cycle. We're talking about the summer monsoons. The Jamuna River is fed by the melting glaciers of the Himalayas, and from June to September, it swells into an absolute beast with this devastating land-consuming power.
And it creates this extreme duality for the farmers. You have a single river that acts as both a hungry, destructive curse and a life-giving blessing. During the monsoon season, the water physically gnaws away at the shorelines, bringing extreme floods that force families to totally dismantle their homes. But then once the dry season finally rolls around, that same violent water leaves behind incredibly fertile sediment. That means a bountiful harvest. So it's this endless, grueling cycle of destruction and reconstruction. Now, you've got to remember, not all islands are created equal here. It's a real map of volatility. Take Char Ruli Para, for example. It's a surprisingly stable 12-year-old island where farmers, like a guy named Rahim, have actually been able to plant trees to anchor the soil down. Contrast that with Char Nurpur, which is a super fragile 4-year-old island settled by poorer farmers who really just have no other choice. And then you have places like Rajapur Island. This is a piece of land that had totally vanished but recently reappeared from the water. I mean, imagine literally waiting around for your real estate to resurface from the depths.
So how do they survive this crazy erosion? Well, it takes a massive logistical procedure. When the river threatens to swallow a char, neighbors immediately rally together. They literally dismantle their corrugated metal and wood homes like local farmer Shur Uzzaman's piece by piece. They transport these disassembled walls to relatives over on safer ground. Then, they wait. Once the new char emerges, they transport all those materials back, build a raised earth foundation to protect against future floods, and reconstruct the whole house.
It's just astonishing to think about this reality, a life of construction, destruction, and reconstruction. And we aren't just talking about individual homes moving either. Vital community infrastructure is entirely mobile too. According to the sources, local schools have been broken down, moved, and rebuilt tens of times. When the floodwater gets within just a few meters of a school's foundation, the community tears it down because that building material is way too precious to lose to the river. But here's the catch. The Chora's finely tuned survival skills are now being put to the ultimate test by modern changes. Let's trace the timeline a bit. 25 years ago, a massive bridge was built that forced a wide 14-kilometer river into a much, much narrower channel, which made the waters way more aggressive. Couple that human infrastructure with global climate change, and the predictable rhythms of the river are just vanishing. Instead of expected, manageable seasonal floods from June to August, the Choras are now getting hit by erratic, unusually late surges all the way in early September. Recently, the water's behavior has completely shifted. Instead of the historical norm, 3 gradual manageable tidal waves spaced out over the summer, farmers were recently hit by a singular, massive late surge. And this unpredictability is disastrous. Remember Rahim, the farmer from the stable 12-year-old island? Well, he had grown a brand new, highly anticipated variety of rice, only for this single extreme wave to come in, leave his field sitting under standing water for days, and entirely ruin the crop. Part 2, the dry season's bounty. Because as the water finally recedes, the disaster area of the monsoon vanishes, and in its place, a completely transformed, bountiful landscape emerges. Now, you might assume these islands are mostly underwater, given all that flooding we just talked about. But actually, the ratio is really surprising. The land is only flooded and unplanted for about 2 to 3 months out of the year. For the remaining 9 to 10 months, the massive deposits of fresh sediment turn these wandering islands into incredibly fertile, heavily cultivated farmland. And the ultimate survival crop for this crazy environment? It's jute. Often called the golden thread of Bangladesh, jute is remarkable. It doesn't just survive the floods, it actively needs them. This hardy plant thrives in stagnant, brackish floodwaters. In fact, after the harvest, farmers deliberately leave the stalks sitting in the water to soften them up so those valuable threads can be pulled apart. Literally, the floodwater is jute's best friend. The economic payoff here is massive. A good jute harvest can net a farmer around 400 to 500 euros. To put that into perspective, their normal earnings usually hover around just 100 to 200 euros a month. So this specific crop gives the Chalras a massive bounce-back harvest that effectively subsidizes all those destructive losses from the monsoon season. And they are adapting to this dry sand with incredible ingenuity. They're growing a diverse array of crops like groundnuts, maize, mustard, and sweet potatoes. But they're also blending traditional farming with modern tech, which is super cool. They use mobile solar panels, which is perfect for a nomadic life, right? To power their laptops. We even see young Chowras, like Rahim's brother, using smartphone internet hotspots right out there on the sandbars to study professional web design. It's just a striking image of modern ambition existing right on top of ancient wandering Earth. Part 3. The Mainland Dilemma. This extreme geographical reality ultimately creates a deeply human crossroads regarding the future of the Chowras. The constant cycle of packing up, moving, and rebuilding, it takes a massive toll, and it leaves a lot of families split on what their future should look like. Because this constant cycle of relocation takes a really harsh toll on the children's schooling. It's constantly interrupted. There's a local mother named Amina, and she was pulled out of school in the 7th grade and married off early, which is an all-too-common reality for girls on the Chars. As she heartbreakingly puts it, living without an education makes you like a blind person with healthy eyes. You have the capacity to see the world, but you just don't have the tools to navigate it. And this dynamic builds incredible tension right inside the home. Take Rahim and his wife Aliyah, for example. Rahim is totally devoted to farming. He sees the river as a blessing and absolutely refuses to leave the islands he loves so much. Aliyah, on the other hand, she is exhausted. She has to carry heavy sacks across long distances where boats used to travel. She desperately desires mainland stability so her kids can get a consistent education and, just have a life free from the constant fear of the next flood. So ultimately, the crucial question I want to leave you with is this. Balancing a traditional love for this shifting earth against the desperate need for modern security and education, what choice would you make? Do you hold on to the incredibly fertile, independent life of the Chauras, knowing you will literally forever be at the mercy of the Jamuna River? Or do you leave the wandering islands behind for good? It's a profound question of adaptation and identity. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.